appreciate it.
I don't know.
Everybody good?
Yeah, it's just.
All right, I will call the council meeting to order. Everybody stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, take the roll.
Mayor O'Connor.
Here.
Morissette.
Here.
Wakefield. Here. Knutson. Here. Kennedy.
Here.
Ruck.
Here.
Hall.
Here. All right, first thing up is comments and suggestions from citizens present. This is your opportunity to speak on any issue that is not on the agenda tonight that affects the city. If you do have something to say, please come forward to the podium, to the mic, state your name and address. Please try to keep your comments brief. Try not to repeat other people's comments. So, does anybody have a comment? Any comment? Any comment? Any comment? Hearing none, we'll close that portion of the agenda. Next up is presentations. We have Manufacturing Month declaration. Whereas, yeah, come on up.
Thank you.
Good to see everybody again. Has it been a year?
Major space again. The new faces.
Yeah, no Kathy.
All right, whereas the city of Hudson is home to numerous manufacturing facilities, and whereas these companies and their talented employees produce high-quality goods that are distributed throughout the United States and across the globe, and whereas these manufacturers employ hundreds of area residents, and whereas local manufacturing fuels local economic growth both through the employment of Hudson area citizens and through the creation of local sector jobs that service the retail and recreational needs of these employees, and whereas local manufacturers require employees who are often trained in their crafts at area secondary and post-secondary educational centers, further adding to economic impact of their manufacturing efforts. Now, therefore, I, Rich O'Connor, Mayor of the City of Hudson, Wisconsin, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2024 as Manufacturing Month in the City of Hudson and call upon all citizens to acknowledge and recognize the important and vital role of the city's manufacturing facilities have in growing and maintaining a vital economic base for the City of Hudson. This is given under my hand and seal of the city the 7th day of October 2024. So thank you for all you do.
And I think they were just going to quickly introduce themselves.
Sure.
Bill Kruger, Croy Gear.
Ruthie Johnston, Croy Gear.
Phil Russo, Cardinal Glass.
Jacob Scramstead, Cardinal Glass.
Matt Koenig, Bear Manufacturing.
Seth Bubica, Bear Manufacturing.
Nice, thank you.
In the chair.
You can all remember just to smile. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
How you doing? Appreciate it.
He's in Costa Rica right now. Oh, is he?
Thank you.
Good for him.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, that was fun. Consent agenda.
Approve the meeting minutes from the September 16, 2024 regular council meeting. Approve claims in the amount of $844,591.58. Approve health insurance increase of 3.9%. Approve reappointment of Patrick Nolan to the Public Utility Commission for a 3-year term. Approve mayoral appointment of Thomas Bystricki to the Public Utilities Commission. Approve mayoral reappointment of Kurt Larson to the Hudson Housing Authority for another 5-year term. Approve the installation of ramp extensions at Lakefront Park Boat Launch. Approve an agreement between the St. Croix County Sheriff's Office and the Hudson Police Department for gray key use. Approve agreement between the City of Hudson and West Central Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission for the update of the Hudson Urban Sewer Service Area Plan. Approve the MOU with the Hudson Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau for the use of Lakefront Park for the holiday lighting display. And approve the plans and authorize advertisement for bids for the 11th Street Improvement Project.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion second to approve. Roll call.
Morissette?
Yes.
Wakefield?
Yes.
Knutson?
Yes.
Kennedy,
Yes.
Brooke,
Yes.
Hall.
Yes.
Motion's approved, consent agenda is approved. Discussion and possible action to approve the Lakefront Park Beach House lighting proposal and MOU with the Hudson Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau.
Good evening, Mike Moraz, Director of Public Works. So what you have in front of you tonight is a proposal that city staff received from the Hudson Chamber of Commerce. If you recall, was it last year, the year before, they came with a similar proposal to put permanent lights on the band shell in Lakefront Park. They are now requesting to put permanent LED lights on the beach house, which would be incorporated into their light up display holiday lighting, and then various colors throughout the year. So it was brought forward to Park Board. They thought it was a great idea, lighting up the area, increase visibility, less vandalism, so on and so forth. So they motion to approve and bring it forward to council for discussion. So I'm here to answer any questions. Mary Claire is in the audience if you have any questions for her. Obviously, the initial installation would be paid for by the Hudson Chamber of Commerce. They have yet to raise the money. They brought it forward first just to see if it was okay from council's perspective to go ahead and start fundraising for it. But the city would take over maintenance of those lights and paying for the electrical expenses in the future. So that's what I have for you.
I'll move we approve. I think as 30 years in the hospitality business, most of it in Hudson, that's something I think that they should pay for. And it's been nice, and it's an extension of the lights in the park as we continue to grow that.
Yep.
I think it's a nice idea.
Second?
Motion and second to approve, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Thanks, Mike. Hudson Public Transit Service update.
Good evening. I know many of you wanted an update as to where we were in terms of numbers and whatnot in the new transit service that deployed January 1 of '24. Proud to state that we've seen, really good growth in the program, be with word of mouth or additional marketing that we've done, reaching out to different organizations, churches, the senior community. You're seeing really good gains in terms of ridership. At each of your places, I did leave some more detailed information that you can have and review if you have any questions on. I was hopeful that we would have the September numbers. I've not seen those come through yet. I can forward those on as soon as I receive them. And I think the other big thing was as we entered in this new service was making sure that we were serving our seniors and our disabled community with this program. And you're seeing almost 80% of our ridership are seniors or disabled. So if there's any questions, let me know. This is more of a receive and file item. No action required, but an update.
I have a question. When we approved this, there was an estimate of the number of annual rides that you were expecting. Do you remember what that number was?
Not off the top of my head, I do
Okay.
not. But we're hopeful to get up to, over 1,000 rides a month. I'll be curious to see what winter does.
Yeah.
The first full winter of the program that's been, rolling for some time now.
Thank you for preparing this. This is super helpful, and it's nice to see that it is getting use and it's growing in its ridership. So thank you.
All right, we're good. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
The City of Hudson federally mandated drug and alcohol testing policy.
Yeah, so this was approved at Finance. I wasn't sure if it could be a consent agenda item, but in this case, we are asking the council to approve the federally mandated drug and alcohol testing policy that was developed with the help of our attorney's office. Anybody have questions, we can go through that, but try to keep it.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve, discussion?
I have one quick question. So this is as it relates to CDLs. What about our other vehicles? So,
It only relates to the CDL drivers within the city of Hudson.
okay. Do we have some kind of policy for the other vehicles that are driven?
Anybody in an accident with any of the vehicles, let's say, they would be tested,
Okay.
but we don't have any other policy beyond that.
Is that a wise thing to do?
Well, the issue here is that for DOT policy, we're required to test. And we didn't have a clear policy, and we needed to make some updates. So that's what we're accomplishing here. We have had some conversations about drivers and drug testing and whatnot, and that's on sort of Brent's list to continue to take a look at. But for now, the issue that we're trying to solve is the DOT piece of it.
Totally understand. Just wanted to make sure we were covered on the other stuff too.
And to follow up with that, the question would be, do you require anybody using a city vehicle to be tested for drugs on a regular basis or randomly tested? So that's something that we would have to take a look at yet, if that's a desire of the council, which we do have a number of city-operated vehicles throughout the city, so. This is only for CDL and DOT policy, yep.
Anybody else? So I missed that. Do we have a motion on this yet? Okay. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Amend the City of Hudson Personnel Policies Handbook. Number 1, DOT for commercial driver's licenses, which we just did.
Yep.
Pre-employment drug testing, complaint procedures, nursing mother requirements, social media changes.
Yep. So all those are proposed as part of the changes to the Personnel Policy Handbook. If we want to go through the specific language, I can point those out, but they're all redlined within your packet. So each one of those are the pieces that we needed to amend, partially for the drug and alcohol, and then we did a cleaning up of any other policies that needed to be changed to match current requirements.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Discussion possible action on 2024 room tax community subsidies. Sam?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Sam Hasse, Finance Director. Another item that was approved at the Finance Committee. The city, by way of background, levies a 3% room tax. That room tax is then split 70% going to the Chamber of Commerce, 30% being retained by the city. The mayor then proposes a budget for that 30%. What you have in front of you tonight is the spend on that 40%. I'll note, as I did at Finance Committee, there are several items, with this being October, that have already been expended. Those items being the fireworks, sorry, I lost my way on my sheet here, the concerts, and the flower baskets. I'll note that each of those items did come before Finance Committee and the Common Council in way of the general claims procedures. So that they were approved by this body as well. In an effort to remedy that, in future years, we'll bring this budget to both Finance and the council much earlier in the year, probably in the March, April timeframe. With that, I stand for any questions.
I have a question for the mayor. You commented in finance when we were discussing it that you said we were in arrears, or we were behind, or we didn't bring in as many room tax dollars as we had planned to spend.
Right.
Is that correct?
That's
How
right.
did we handle that?
We have a reserve, money that had not been spent over the previous years.
Okay.
And so we tapped that reserve.
Okay. Because, of course, these are community groups that come to expect this as part of their budget
Right.
and planning, and so, want to keep our commitment
Yep.
to them. So at this point, what we're voting on tonight is a commitment for what we would fund next year, or to complete this year's funding.
This is completing this year's.
Thank you.
Yes.
So that's
And
why.
if I may, Councilmember,
Yes.
the fund balance currently sits at $82,000 in change, and then this would then dip into that at $24,634. So ultimately leaving you with a fund balance of $57,000.
Okay, thank you.
And as the mayor pointed out at Finance, this is changeable. I mean, it's a living document, things can be plus or minus, if you will.
Right, yeah. And as I also pointed out, this is, I think, the third year now that we've actually had to tap that
That's correct.
reserve.
I'll move we approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve, discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Budget presentation and approval to print notifications to the paper. Thank you, Sam.
Okay. Yeah, Mike, could you? Is the red cord? No, it might be plugged
The
in.
red cord's right there.
I've got it plugged in here. Is it plugged in up front? Oh, and then I don't know if it'll transfer over, will it? It is? You can see it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I didn't know if you had it on there. Okay.
Is that your tent?
Yep, there we go. That is my tent, yes. Just hang it out under the stars. All right, so I will go through the budget. You guys have all seen the budget presentation, some of you 3 times, and this will make a 4th time's a charm, I guess. This is the official second presentation to the council. At the end of the presentation, we'll ask to approve the printing of this to the paper, so that we can prep for our final budget approval on November 11th. So I think Sam sent out the updated timeline to match what the county is requiring for us to submit our mill rates to the county. We have to start the presentation or publication in the paper by the 24th, second publication on the 31st, public hearing by this council on November 11th with those final numbers, and then on November 15th, we would do mill rate to the paper.
Brett, just a quick question. Is November 11th Veterans Day, and is City Hall open that day?
Thank you.
We are.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I know it was, I mean, it's already on our calendar. That it must have been set a while ago.
Yeah, that's a really good question.
If we weren't having a meeting on the 11th, no, that we would have to have it on the 12th, because we have to meet the 14-day requirement, or 15-day in the paper. So if we did that, if you guys were going to shuffle the meeting, or the time for the November 11th meeting, I don't know if you can change that base now, but you'd have to take a look. Maybe the attorney usually have to do it at a regular set council meeting. This is the last one before November 11th. The only thing I would say is go forward with November 11th meeting. Anybody have objection to that, I guess, even though it's Veterans Day?
There's no prohibition against meeting on Veterans Day.
Exactly, yep.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we do have another meeting this month.
We do. I was already at the end of the month.
Yeah,
Okay.
21st.
So we could, on the 21st, change the meeting if we wish to. So we can talk about that. If the mayor wants to set a different date, we could propose that at the October 21st meeting. But we do need to get this to the paper and post it as a particular date to have the public hearing for the budget. Okay, so we'll have to set that real soon if we're going to do that.
Yeah.
All right. So we already went through all the considerations. I want to go into this piece. The proposed mill rate prior to the reduction in the healthcare costs the healthcare savings that we saw, because we did propose 7%, it went down to 3.9%. So originally we're looking at $502.42 per 100,000 evaluation. Now we're looking at $500.41 per 100,000 valuation. So it went down roughly $2 per 100,000, okay? Based on, just from the healthcare savings. We tried, the last number that we're still trying to get is the estimated assessed valuation. We did talk with our appraiser again on that, our assessor, excuse me. We talked with our assessor, and he is still confident in those numbers, the 2.5 million, but we still don't have that number. So when we do have the final budget in November, the final budget hearing, we will have an exact number for that. So if it's higher than 2.5 million, that mill rate will go down. If it's lower than 2.5 million, the mill rate will go up a little bit, but it's very fractional. I was playing around with, 100,000 difference. It makes no difference. So even, 100 million, it didn't make much of a difference to that mill rate. So if we're in that ballpark, we're still okay. Okay, we already went through where the mill rates are. You can see Hudson School District takes up 56% of the levy rates. St. Croix County is 18%, Hudson's at 24%. So out of all the money that's collected, Hudson, on your tax bill, Hudson is about 25% total, which is kind of surprising when you think about it. It's always, the blame is on the city for the tax bill, but we're only 25% of that overall tax bill. Okay? Everybody should, always keep that in mind when you're talking to the public out there, that it really is a smaller amount compared to your overall tax bill. And of course, the expenditures, police department takes up a large portion of that, public works and fire take up quite a bit. So public works, obviously, with your streets and that's primarily the streets. Fire, parks is in there as well. If you combine parks with public works, you get a larger portion. Library is pretty substantial as well. Library gets pretty close, or it's probably about 2/3 of the fire budget. But all of that together, you can see where all of your money goes and the dollar amounts that go with it. Okay, I won't really go into the capital improvement projects too much. We kind of went through this. We realized that there's a larger expense on the buildings that we have coming out. We don't know those numbers yet. We won't know those numbers until we go out for final bid. And then the bid process will be done in sort of an a la carte basis, where we might take stuff away or add stuff to it after we get our final bids and know what the true amounts are. But we do know already they're going to be higher than what we originally were expecting. Last month, we went through all the different details of the public work buildings and the importance of them and the costs for the new building, for a new building versus remodeling the two existing structures that you had purchased earlier this year. Obviously, there's a significant savings difference. And then we also compared it to existing facilities that are already under construction or out for bid. Well, actually, they're under construction, aren't they? A couple of them were toured at one point. I think some of them are finished. Jeff, the building that you had toured had been completed, right? The was it the Oakdale facility?
Rosemount.
The Rosemount? Okay, so it was Rosemount? Rosemount. So they had toured that facility not too long ago, and maybe give an idea of what it is. Last week, was it? Okay.
Yep.
Maybe just give them an idea of what that is, and realizing that together, the combined buildings that we're doing here are at $231 a square foot. The Rosemont facility was at $362 a square foot. And that was for what?
160,000 square feet. Public Works, Police Department combined. Police Department had 50,000 square feet of that.
Which is roughly what we're looking at for the police department here.
Yeah, it's about 10,000 more. We're looking at
Yep.
40,000 square feet renovation. Their portion was about 24 million to build that port brand new.
Yep. So realizing that we're looking at a significant savings, and I think using these numbers when talking to the public out there and making sure that everybody out there that's watching now understands that what you've done is a significant savings. Even though we're spending money to get there, it's still less of an impact than it could be if we went out for new buildings. So it's a wise use, I think, of the funds. Then we went through all the other projects throughout the years. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. No, just thanks. Sit down, appreciate it. Didn't mean to scare you back up. Anybody else want to come up and talk about it? That's fine too, I guess. No? All right. Okay, so getting through all that, the next step really is looking toward the budget notification to be sent to the paper. And as soon as we do that, we do need to set the date that we would have for that, that next step. So, I wish to ask to be sent to the paper if we need to make any modifications to the date. I guess the mayor would look at that, whether Veterans Day is something that you guys want to shift around. That's,
I have a quick question. In your narrative early on, and this is in regards to the COLA,
yes.
that we would be, actually, our employees would see a negative 0.6 loss in income.
Yep. If we, yeah, that was conditioned if we did just a 0.2% increase. So there's, in the steps, it was identified as a 2% increase
Yes.
from step to step for all employees, right? So if it was a 2% increase, but COLA is going up 3.6, they're actually not keeping up with the cost of living. So it's like, it's identifying that there's, everybody's wages essentially is losing 1.6%, because cost of living is higher than what
So
you're keeping up
regardless,
with.
if we added 0.4, to make it a zero loss.
So if you added, so if you have a 2% and you went 1.6% additional, that would be a break even.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wouldn't that kind of say to our employees a little better goodwill? To say we don't want you to lose any income. I mean, it's a nominal amount, but in the long run.
Yeah, well, in the budget, we have already factored in the cost of living and the COLA adjustment at 3.6. I mean, excuse me. So we factored in the 3.6, and then the step increases in addition to that. Yeah. Let me see. I want to say it was
So the
5.
total you're saying is.
I'd have to go back.
5.
I think it was 5 total, was it?
5.
Somebody remember? Okay, boy, I got to go back.
Would that be 5.6 then if it's a 2 and a 3?
3, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're giving an
Shoot.
increase?
Yes, you're getting the 2% plus, excuse me, what was that?
4.6 total.
It was 4.6 total. Okay. So we didn't go all the way to COLA, which was 3.6. We went
Okay.
to 2.6.
Okay.
So if each employee would get a total of 4.6 with their step increase plus a slight adjustment, not full COLA, but to 2.6.
Okay, that makes better. Thank you.
Yes.
For clarification.
Okay. Thanks for catching that, Mike. I was trying to scrabble through to find out what we settled at. Yeah, appreciate it. Keep bringing in those industries.
How does that COLA, like our police department operates on a contract negotiated through their union, is that correct?
Yes.
So does these adjustments that we're talking about apply to them?
No, they have a step increase, but not the COLA adjustment in their contract. So what you approved last September, they all have the same step increase that all the other employees have, but they don't have the COLA adjustment. Yes.
This year only, or in
Well,
general?
they're able to, this year, the contract is due, I think, in November. It's
So they'll be
the negotiation,
renegotiating that,
yeah, into the
The last
preceding year.
negotiation the police department did, they did very well.
16% over
Yeah.
4 years.
Sure.
When you say November, it's next November, though.
Yeah. It's was a 3-year, wasn't it, Jeff?
I thought it
It
was
is,
4.
no, it's this
Four-year
year,
contract.
yeah.
Is
The
it?
end of 2025, it will expire.
Yep, the end of 2025 it expires, so we'll have to begin negotiations this year into 2026. Well, excuse me, when I say this year, I'm already talking about the 2025 budget.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
yes, correct.
Okay.
I had one other question regarding the budget. We're in the process of standing up 2 new facilities, purchasing them, getting prepared for that. What is our plan for the maintenance of those? Recall in a prior budget where it was itemized at a specific amount that it costed, let's say, maintain the First Street building, which is shared by the police department
Sure.
and the public library. And, that was itemized out as an amount. I'm assuming we're keeping that building, of course, maintained, because the library will still be there after the police department moves out. So how do you see us flexing that? Our employees are going to just step up and manage those bigger, more facilities, or?
That is the current plan. I know the DPW, they'll start closing down some of the other facilities and operating strictly out of that building. So we won't have we'll have to start to work on a shutdown plan for some of the other buildings and then decide what it is that we're going to do with those properties. But that'll all be centrally located at the new building then. So that'll make a shift and difference there. There should be some cost savings in how those are
Sure.
maintained.
So that'll just come out of those departments?
Yep, and as far as the library goes, a lot of the cleanup obviously is in that police department area, because there's a lot more employees there as well. That'll shift over to the new police department. But yeah, you'll still have some care of the existing location. I would imagine that current location, that's something that the library group has to work through, is how they're gonna, if they're going to expand into that next piece, the council will have to deal with that question as
Right,
well.
that is a separate
right?
question, I
But for
agree.
now, that's, it's probably kind of a dark area until,
We don't know. But we're
we
hoping
sort
that
that
our
through.
two departments will be in their new facilities. Hopefully by midsummer, we'll have at least 5 or
not
6 months.
this, not in 2025, in 2026, they should be in their new facilities.
Okay.
In the spring of probably 26.
Okay.
Possibly late 25 for DPW, but
Okay.
it's going to be pushing it.
Thank you.
So we at least have one full year yet.
Thank you. So you're not really making the plans in place yet for that?
No, we'll start working towards that in 2025 for the 26 budget.
All right, so what's the motion we're looking for, Brent?
To approve printing in the paper, which would put it on the 11th, or if you want to have that discussion and shuffle the date, then we would have to approve a different date. But we need to print it in the paper for a specific hearing date
And time.
and time. Thank you.
And time.
Date and time.
I would
and
prefer
location.
not to move it to 12th and 13th. I'm out of town on business, so I'd like to be at the budget meeting.
Yep. Well, and I should point that what we are approving is on page 308 and 309 of your packet.
Unless it was in the morning on the 12th.
I think staff would be happy with a morning meeting.
Yes.
See, there you go.
I'll make the motion to approve the November 11th at 7 PM budget hearing and notice to the newspaper for it.
A second.
What was the motion? I'm sorry.
For the November 11th at 7 PM.
All right, we have a motion, a second discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's approved. Countywide Housing Study, St. Croix Economic Development Corporation.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. At the last meeting, Alderperson Hall requested this be on this agenda. We did request that Melissa Meschke be here with the St. Croix County Economic Development Corporation to discuss their proposal and their request. It's a $2,000 request to municipalities within the county to conduct this study. Included in your packet is a memorandum that Melissa provided us that discusses the benefits of the countywide housing study and some of the deliverables they plan on offering upon conclusion. I can have Melissa, if she's so willing, to come up and kind of communicate and introduce herself. She is relatively new to the position, replaced Bill Rubin. How long has it been now? About 9 months already. So I'll turn it over to Melissa to answer any questions.
Thank you. For those of you I hadn't had the chance to meet yet, Melissa Meschke, Executive Director of St. Croix Economic Development Corporation. As you said, I've been here about 9 months. I appreciate you adding me to the agenda tonight. I know you've reviewed the PDF that I provided. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about the proposed ask.
So again, the ask is for joining a study, and it's for $2,000, the contribution from the city to join a group study.
So the contribution is specifically to support the price of the study. The price of the study is $35,000, and we need an additional $5,000 for kind of the road show afterwards, where we'd bring the planning commission to the communities that have contributed, in addition to marketing out the plan to developers and brokers and those kind of things to spur development. So the cost would list you as a contributor to the study. We've had several other municipalities as well as private organizations donate. We're really close to our goal and hoping to achieve that. But when you're a contributor, you're not only going to be featured in the study itself, which I said, remember will be largely marketed, but you'll also be highlighted in that roadshow. So we'll be sure to have at least 1 or 2 Hudson locations for those public hearings of sorts for the data that's found.
Question, when it was first brought to my attention with this, the first thing I said is, well, what are you gonna tell us that we don't already know? Why would we wanna spend any more money on something we realize we have an issue with?
Yeah, great question. We do have assumptions of what we think it'll say. What a housing study allows is to put it in writing. So there's several counties around us that have also done countywide housing studies, including Polk County most recently. After Polk County completed their housing study, they were able to present to developers and other investors and bring some really great projects to the community that were the type of projects that were needed. So not just builders coming in and what they want to build, but understanding what the communities need and bringing forward some of those projects. So Polk County is a success story, has seen a lot of great results from their countywide housing study, and the Planning Commission has other examples of those types of stories happening as well.
Thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve the $2,000 contribution to the study. Brent, is there a fund that this should come out of?
Mike, is there any location within the community development?
I'll just go over my budget, but.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
No, we'll find a location for it. It's a small amount. We should.
I said okay, so record that.
I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I have a quick question. So it's gonna be the area is gonna be St. Croix County.
Correct.
And if we kick in $2,000 and there's a couple other communities, those communities that aren't gonna pay into this, you're still gonna do the same scope, same work?
Correct. They just won't be featured in that after
Okay.
marketing of it. Correct.
We're just good guys, good people for partnering. And then my only other thing, which is not a negative concern, but the timing and involvement of our staff to produce a lot of questions you ask in this, I assume it's gonna go on Mike's desk or.
So one of them already responded. That's the only direct staff time that's going to be needed. Susan from the Planning Commission had emailed someone that responded to her questions. We just launched a community study today or tomorrow, so that'll be an online survey, and then we're doing focus groups. So there should be no additional staff time needed.
Okay.
And so part of that $2,000 is also having some of those focus groups in our own community as well, so our citizens could participate?
Yes, and I've already actually booked 2 of them for Hudson. So we were trying to spread them throughout the county and just ended up with 2 of them in Hudson. Yep.
Well, I wondered if the other communities that are participating have, are they by law required to develop a comprehensive plan like the city is? I know some of those rules are based on the size of the municipality and so on. Are the rest of those also ones that have done comprehensive plans, do you know?
Yes, all of them are required to do comprehensive plans, and actually several of them have done their own housing studies that still contributed to.
Okay. Well, one of my concerns when we get involved in something that involves, St. Croix County is so widely disparate in what happens in different parts of the county. And many people like to say, oh, Hudson can solve this problem. Hudson should do this, Hudson should do that. And I'm a little hesitant to participate in a plan where we're gonna get a list of, well, now you need to do these things. And it can be used a little bit, like an enforcement tool, make us feel guilty, the things that we can't do. For example, just in preparing for tonight's meeting, I went and looked back at our comprehensive plan, which was approved December 2021, and I think it might be surprising to some of the people in the rest of the county to know that Hudson, only 60% of Hudson residents own their own home. That changed by about 7 or 8% in like a 10-year time period. It used to be 33% renters. Now we have 40% renters. Most of the projects that are coming to us are multifamily. They're big rental properties. We've certainly allowed that sort of development, which gives a big boost to the units available for housing. But we're surrounded by municipalities who have very strict rules about, so if they're coming to the table saying, yeah, we really want to decide, we want to be a part of a solution. That's not a challenge to you, it's a challenge to our fellow, municipalities that are partnered with in various things, is that so often it's like, well, Hudson should fix this problem. And one of our challenges, you're new to Hudson, one of the great things about the Hudson area is we all feel like we're part of the greater Hudson. I call it the group hug that is the Hudson community. We all go to the same school district, cheer for the same team, soccer, you name it, enjoying the river and all the amenities. But a lot of people don't understand the difference of what the Hudson taxpayers, city taxpayers are faced with versus some of the other municipalities. Shared revenue that comes back from the state, for example, is much less for the city of Hudson than it is for some of the other cities in our area. And so that does hamper us a little bit when it's like, well, we should provide this and we should be doing that. And I don't think all the folks, even in our close-in Hudson group hug, understand that completely. Just recently, I've just noticed that several people have come just to the park board that don't live in the city of Hudson. One actually complaining about a new amenity that's being brought in to the city because they didn't think it brought enough to us and, for the children of the community. And they're certainly part of our community, but they don't live in the city of Hudson. They live in another municipality that's adjacent and utilize our parks, which we're happy to have that happen. And so that's one of my concerns, is that what will be the flavor of it? And are the other municipalities really coming to the table to say, yeah, we're willing to change what's on our books, what we allow? Because otherwise Hudson is just looking at bringing more density. We're going to have to allow more density in the spaces, the very few spaces that we have left. In order to provide more housing. And so I'm skeptical, I guess I would say. It does seem like a modest amount of money, but I do feel skeptical that, again, it'll turn out that, Hudson needs to solve this problem. Here's what we need to do. And so those are my concerns going into it.
Am I allowed to respond?
Sure, of course, sorry.
I got two things, one short term, one long term.
Okay.
So the short term would be the actual study itself. 21 of our 35 municipalities will be featured in the study. So as long as they have, I believe it's 2,000 or 3,000 in population, they'll be featured as a municipality in the study. So I will tell you, it is not going to be picking on just the big municipalities. It's not going to be just New Richmond and Somerset and River Falls and Hudson, right? There's going to be a lot more communities involved. So that's short term. Long term, you're talking about some of the long-term things that I hope to work on at the EDC. So working with municipalities to discuss this issue and having this data to use as the base of the conversation. So I totally understand that Hudson cannot answer all the problems. That's not going to be a successful solution for anybody. So that's long-term will be me really using this study to get all the other municipalities involved, work with zoning requirements, work with density, have these conversations like you had mentioned, and understanding it cannot be answered all by one municipality. Everyone needs to be at the table.
Thank you. I didn't mean to seem like I was putting you on the spot.
You're totally fine.
On my soapbox in general.
Happy to be put on the spot.
Thank you.
Well, if we can continue with that, just because it's out on the table right now. So your intro letter calls out that we have challenges in the housing market due to population growth, economic shifts, we all read it. So we pitch in for this, we do all the work, and then we get our report back. Is it something we sit on our desk and go, yeah, we know we don't have a lot of land available. We know that we don't have, the right amount of mix of housing and rental, or I don't want to put everyone through all this and then say, that's neat, and then set it down if there's really,
Right.
I mean, are we gonna have action steps that can be, again, I'm hoping that we can learn from this rather than, yep, we know most of this, so.
It's not just going to have data, it will have some solutions. So there's 3 parts. Let me pull this up, see if my computer's still on here. You see where it is specifically in the letter, sorry.
The 4 points.
Yeah, it's either 3 or 4. Okay, so on the second page, the deliverables talks about the housing needs assessment. So that's kind of the conversation we're having here. It's going to tell us the data that we're looking to put in writing. The second one will be a housing toolbox, so understanding strategies and programs that we can take as steps. So that'll be kind of our idea book that we'd be able to use to solve some of these issues. So there are going to be multiple things outlined in that. And the housing snapshot was what I was just talking about, the 21 municipalities that we're highlighting. So that's the third and fourth bullet point are going to be those specific municipalities. So the second one there would be kind of answering your question of it's hopefully, it's not meant to be another bookend, right? We want to be able to use it and implement it.
I think if this was anything more than $2,000, I would have an issue with it.
Yeah.
Just for participation to tell us we already have a problem that we know of. But we're at our limits right now as it is. Not much else somebody's gonna tell us. Besides the fact you could bring this demographic to the developer who has already come to the plan commission and asked for this because he's already done his due diligence.
Sure.
So it's kind of a moot point for the city of Hudson.
Specifically, sure.
Yeah.
Yep. One thing that I can think of for the city of Hudson would be redevelopment. So if there's any properties that might be able to, let's say, a retail adding apartments above, for example. So redevelopment or more density might be something that would be suggested specifically for those cities that are more landlocked or land limited.
And that's a challenge for me. I think we have a quality of life, single-family homes, neighborhoods in tree-lined streets and yards, and to say, we're going to solve a housing problem by increasing the density, bringing apartment buildings into, what are R1 residential streets, I do have concerns about that. I do think one thing about the study, maybe it will sort of activate and motivate some of our neighboring municipalities to say, well, what can we do about it and how can they develop? They want to increase their tax base as well. Whether they're wanting more density or not, I don't know, because many people live in our surrounding townships because they want those, more space, less density. They want to have a larger lot. And so whether those governmental agencies, those boards would move forward with any change, I don't know. But I do agree with what you're saying, Mr. Morissette, that it's a minor, Randy, I can call you Randy? Okay. It's a minor amount of money. It is. But I do have my concerns about interpreting it and what are we going to do with it. But
So I've been tossing this around for some time. I don't, and talked to a number of people about this. And as you pointed out, Joy, it seems like a modest amount of money. Randy, you said it too, but there are a couple things. Everybody, we can beat this to death, I guess, but we know what our problems are here with housing. And I don't think, we went through this with our comprehensive study, right? Our comprehensive plan. And we spent more than a year on this, spent a lot of money on it. And so we know what our limitations are. We know what our constraints are. We do have right now one piece of property that's going to be developed for housing that's already annexed into the city. We have another one with a pre-annexation coming up for development on the southeast side of the city. We have another potentially massive housing development, depending upon how many properties are actually annexed and brought into this, over on the east side of the community, involving the school district property and other properties that are involved in that to get to the school district property for annexation for housing. We know if we're going to expand, we have to annex, and we know what the limitations are. We know what the problems are. The prices are very high here. Cost of housing is extremely high. But I don't want to compound that with, now we have a budget with almost 10% increase to our taxpayers. And then we're going to tell them, and on top of that, we're going to expend what might appear to be a modest amount to give us information that we already have. And I think this is really bad timing for this type of request, personally.
And I hear what you're saying, and I think about our commitment as a golden rule city. To me, that means being a good neighbor and a good partner. And who knows, the study information that you're referring to is from 5 years ago. Perhaps there'll be something that we aren't seeing. Maybe there will be an aha moment, or that maybe there'll be a redevelopment option that we haven't considered. To me, this is being a good community partner to our neighbors and doing our part in the process.
Were you referencing the comprehensive plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's almost 5 years ago.
Well, not really. It's like 2 to 3. It started 5 years ago, 4 years ago. All right, anybody else? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No.
All right, so I'm not sure. It's just 2 noes. Were there 4 ayes?
Yeah, I voted for it.
Okay. Motion's approved. All right, I don't think, are we at the end?
We are at the end.
I don't have anything. Anybody?
Oh, I do want to remind the council and the public that City Hall and other buildings will be closed this Friday for the mandatory training that we will be going through. So everybody will be there at the fire hall for our training session. Should be a good time. Good information handed out.
Not for us, though.
You're welcome.
However, I think you particularly could probably use some training.
I'll give you the pamphlet when we're done.
Thank you for the clarification.
Becky will provide you with her cliff notes.
Yes, yes.
All right, anybody else?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and second to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion's approved. We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody.